The snow fell in thick, muffled sheets, blanketing the city in a quiet that felt almost unreal. Inside the glass doors of his high-rise office, Jonathan Hayes, CEO of a multinational company, was reviewing quarterly reports when a soft knock interrupted his focus. He looked up to see a little girl, no more than 7, standing hesitantly in the hallway. Her coat was too thin, her cheeks streaked with cold and tears. "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jonathan's heart skipped. He was used to boardroom crises, market crashes, and deadlines, but this was different. He crouched to her level. "What happened, sweetie?" I don't know," she stammered. "She left after work, and I've been waiting all night." The city outside gleamed with holiday lights, but inside, it felt unbearably cold. Something in her small, earnest eyes stirred a part of him he hadn't felt in years. Responsibility. Compassion. Humanity. Without thinking, he grabbed his coat. "We'll find her," he said firmly. "Let's go." She hesitated, then nodded, gripping his hand. Together, they stepped into the snow, leaving the warmth of the office behind. With each crunch of snow beneath their boots, Jonathan realized this was no ordinary night. This was a night that demanded courage, patience, and kindness, the kind that could change lives forever. And as the little girl tugged him toward the unknown, he understood that sometimes, being a leader meant more than signing papers or making decisions. It meant following someone's fear into the cold, even when you didn't know what awaited you. The streets were eerily quiet, snow muffling every sound except the crunch of their footsteps. Jonathan pulled his coat tighter around himself and the little girl, who shivered but refused to let go of his hand. "Do you remember where she went?" he asked gently. The girl shook her head, her small brows knitted in worry. "She said she was meeting someone, but I don't know who. I waited at home, and no one came." Jonathan felt a pang of helplessness. In his world, problems usually had solutions, but this was different. He knew he had to do more than walk the streets, he had to truly see, to really care. They trudged through the snow toward the nearby neighborhoods, Jonathan scanning faces in the glowing streetlights. Most people were indoors, safe and warm, oblivious to the little girl's fear. Then, just when doubt began to creep in, a faint sound caught his attention, a woman's distant cry. The girl's eyes widened. That's my mom," she gasped, pulling him faster. They followed the voice to a small alley, where the woman lay on the ground, unconscious from a slip on the ice. Jonathan's heart raced, but he acted without hesitation, scooping her up gently. The girl wrapped her arms around her mother, whispering desperate words he couldn't hear but felt in the warmth of their embrace. Jonathan called emergency services, and as the woman was carried to safety, he knelt beside the little girl, brushing snow from her hair. "You stayed brave," he said softly. "And because you didn't give up, your mom is safe." For the first time that night, the girl smiled, a tiny, fragile thing that lit up the cold darkness. Jonathan realized then that acts of kindness weren't grand gestures, they were moments of courage, compassion, and connection. And tonight, in the snow, that simple truth had saved a life. By the time the ambulance arrived, the snow had stopped falling, leaving the street sparkling under the streetlights. The little girl clung to her mother, whose face was pale but smiling faintly now. Jonathan stood nearby, watching quietly, feeling an unfamiliar mix of relief and quiet pride. The mother opened her eyes, recognizing Jonathan immediately. You found her?" she asked, her voice shaky. He nodded. "She stayed strong. You were lucky she didn't give up waiting for you." Tears welled in the woman's eyes, and she pulled her daughter into a tight embrace. The gratitude in that small, trembling hug struck Jonathan harder than any business deal ever could. For a moment, the city, the office, the endless reports, all of it, felt trivial. This was real life. Real stakes. Real humanity. Before leaving, the mother took his hand. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "Just keep looking after each other," Jonathan replied, forcing a smile as he watched them walk toward the ambulance. The warmth of their bond seemed to chase away the last chill of the night. As he trudged back to his car, Jonathan realized something profound. Leadership wasn't about titles, money, or power. It was about courage when someone needed it most, about showing up even when it was inconvenient, about following the call of compassion even into the cold. That night, he returned to his office, but the warmth stayed with him. The city lights no longer seemed distant or indifferent, they felt alive, full of stories waiting for someone willing to care. And in the quiet, he promised himself he would never underestimate the power of small acts of kindness, for they could create ripples stronger than any corporate decision ever could. Sometimes, a little courage, a little empathy, and a willingness to follow someone into the unknown could save a life, and even more, it could awaken the heart. The next morning, Jonathan returned to his office, but everything felt different. The snow had melted from the streets, leaving puddles that reflected the sunlight. The city buzzed with its usual pace, yet in his mind, the memory of the little girl and her mother lingered vividly. He found himself thinking about how fragile life could be, and how sometimes, a small act of compassion could make an immense difference. That night had reminded him that true leadership wasn't measured in profits or deals but in the humanity we show to others. Days later, he received a small note at his office. It was from the little girl, written in uneven letters. "Thank you, sir. You helped me find my mom. You are my hero. Love, Emma." Jonathan smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. It was a simple note, yet it carried the weight of a life saved and a heart uplifted. He pinned it to his office wall, a reminder that kindness didn't need grandeur to be powerful, it only needed courage, presence, and a willingness to act. Weeks passed, and Jonathan often reflected on that snowy night. He began volunteering at local shelters, checking on families, and supporting initiatives to help children in need. What started as a single act of following a little girl into the snow became a ripple, touching lives he never imagined. And sometimes, when he walked through the city streets, he would see children playing and hear mothers laughing, and he would remember that little girl's brave eyes, that quiet trust, and the simple truth that one act of kindness could change the world, one life at a time. The snow had melted long ago, but its lesson remained. Compassion, courage, and humanity always leave footprints, some small, some profound, but all capable of lighting even the darkest nights.